The House Committee on Justice will have its hands full tomorrow and in the next few weeks. We talk about that in today's hearing with Committee Chairperson Representative Gerville Luistro. Magandang gabi, Congresswoman. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Magandang gabi po, and thank you for having me here.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, let me start off with this. The rules po of the House on the impeachment procedures, are you going to have to revise them pa in consonance with last week's decision of the Supreme Court, or pwedeng hindi na po?
Well, as a general statement, no, Ed, the resolution of the Supreme Court has no significance to the current impeachment complaint because that resolution pertains to the second mode of filing an impeachment.
Yes, ma'am.
That is via 1/3 of all the members of the House of Representatives, whereas the current impeachment complaint against the President were filed by private individuals endorsed by House members. So at least on that ground, no, the current impeachment process should not be affected by the recent resolution of the Supreme Court. Although I understand, Ed, there are some concerns, some details in the decision of the Supreme Court resolution, which will have some implication in as far as the process of impeachment is concerned. No? This pertains to the definition of session days, which
Yes,
has been
ma'am.
changed.
Yes, ma'am. I asked that kasi po, sooner or later, within this month, probably, you will have two impeachment complaints probably going to your committee, and I suppose you would have some sort of common rules or common procedures as far as they are concerned.
Yeah, that is correct. So with respect to this is just my opinion, of course, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is a matter that rests exclusively to the Committee on Rules, subject, of course, to the approval of the plenary, no? But in as far as I am concerned, with respect to the definition of session days, for purposes of impeachment, I subscribe to the opinion that we have to follow the definition of the Supreme Court. And that means that session day pertains to calendar days where the House of Representatives hold their session.
But you also plan, and correct me if I'm wrong, Congresswoman, no, to ask the Supreme Court to clarify ano ba talaga yung day of reckoning, quote-unquote, Feb 5 ba talaga, Jan 14 ba talaga yung last day nung ban? How does a session day affect that? And then, what if hindi sumagot in a timely fashion yung Supreme Court? What do you plan?
Actually, it was expressly provided in the recent resolution na no more appeal, no more petition, no more motion, no? Which means that is final and executory already. So I don't know really how we are going to solicit a clarification from the Supreme Court, but I am hoping that somehow we will be able to find some ways kung paano ito maklaklaro ng Supreme Court, no? The confusion actually lies between the original decision and the recent resolution of the Supreme Court, no? Sabi dun sa unang decision, the 1-year prohibition period lapsed last February 5 of 2026, no? This February 5 of
Yes, ma'am.
2026,
Yes, ma'am.
no? Which will technically allow the second impeachment starting February 6 of 2026, no? Ano ba yung February 5? That is the date of filing of the impeachment complaint signed and verified by at least 1/3 of all the members of the House, no? Yun yung sabi doon sa original decision. However, comes the recent resolution. By implication, ang sabi nila, the filing of the first impeachment complaint, that was December 2 of 2024, is deemed an initiation for failure of the House of Representatives to take action within the period of 10
Yes, ma'am.
session days, no?
Opo.
So we counted 10th session day in accordance with their definition, which is
Jan 14, I
calendar
think.
days when there is a session of the House of Representatives should have ended last January 14
Yes,
of
ma'am.
2026, right? 2025.
2025. Opo.
which technically will lapse on January 14 of 2026, correct?
Yes.
So, January 15 of 2026, technically speaking, naglapse na ang one-year prohibition period and the second impeachment should be allowed already, no?
Oh,
But of
that's
course, we have
why.
And in fact, ayun na nga siguro yung reason kung bakit
Kung bakit-
dalawa yung
oo.
nag-file
Saka
today.
bakit ang aga nila hindi sila
Correct.
nagita ng
Oo.
February 6?
we have to invite the attention of the people also that the recent resolution of the Supreme Court was issued January 28 of 2026. No? Kaya ngayon lang nagkakaroon ng filing, but if the same was issued earlier, baka habulin pa nila yung January 15, which based on the resolution of the Supreme Court, expired na yung one-year prohibition period. So, the confusion actually lies on whether kailan ba talaga nag-expire. Was it will it expire on February 6 of 2026 or did it
January
expire
14.
already last January 14 of 2026, no? One more thing, Ed, no, and Sean. We have to consider also the definition of session day, no? Kasi under the old rule or the original decision of the Supreme Court, wala pang bagong definition ng session day. The practice of the House really is one session does not necessarily constitute one session day because it is possible that that is just a continuation
Or
of
suspension.
the practice
Yes, ma'am.
session. No?
Yes, ma'am.
Kapag suspension lang, then the succeeding session should be considered only as a continuation. So,
Yan
it
po.
is...
Tama, Kong. Yan yung laman ng motion for reconsideration nyo napasok Di ba? Yung sa kay VP Sara last year na impeachment. Kasi
Correct.
within 10 session days, counting, pag sinabi, adjourn, tug-tug-tug, hindi sa suspensions, right?
Correct.
But now that binago na ng Supreme Court, I don't know if you've spoken to the Rules Committee, kung i-adopt ba ito for everything or just for impeachment practices alone?
Sa akin lang to, Sean and Ed, no? Sa akin lang. From my end, as chairperson of the Justice Committee, I have always expressed my highest regard and respect to the Supreme Court, being the final arbiter of all controversies arising from the implementation and interpretation of the laws, no? For purposes of impeachment, I am inclined to adopt the new definition of session day. However, for legislative purposes, I think we should keep the original definition of session days, no? But of course, it is not for the Justice Committee to decide on this. We have the Committee on Rules, which takes care of the rules of the House of Representatives, subject, of course, to the approval of all the members of the House of Representatives.
Ma'am, also, well, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a lawyer. I just try to understand. I just try to understand as much as I can. But if I read it correctly, the July 25 decision of the Supreme Court basically said na pasok dun sa 10 days yung first 3 complaints. And then comes last week's decision, hindi na siya pasok because it was recalculated to be on January 14. Did I get that right?
That is correct. From the original decision, we counted from December 2, the filing of the first impeachment complaint. By the original definition of session day, no, from December 2 up to February 5, which is the fourth impeachment complaint, pasok sa 10 session days, applying the original definition of session day, no? But based on the recent decision, kung saan nagbago na ang definition ng session day, which means now calendar days when the House of Representatives holds session, hanggang January 14 na lang. That is why the December 2 impeachment complaint, which was filed back in 2024, it was considered as deemed initiated already, and the succeeding impeachment complaints are violation already of the one-year bar rule.
Okay. Also, kanina, medyo very slight tensions lang naman sa Justice Committee hearing, Congresswoman Luistro. Yung issue sa notaryo, papatawag pa yung notaryo. How do you, tas semi-walk out si Congressman Amante. Okay na ba tayo doon? So tomorrow we proceed to substance, which is, I think, yun yung mas madugong part. So is everything settled, or do you expect that some of the congressmen in your committee will still, protest something about what happened today with the form?
Well, of course, we have always known the Honorable Abante to be so passionate about his positions, no? And we perfectly understand that, no? As to whether there will be similar manifestations tomorrow, of course, we cannot stop the members of the Justice Committee. However, they should understand that the issue on sufficiency on form has been voted upon already. So that should be considered as done already. And for tomorrow, what we intend to hear is the manifestation and comments regarding the sufficiency in substance, no? Of first, of course, is the complaint of De Jesus, and then it will be followed by the Masa et al. Impeachment complaint.
Congresswoman, quick follow-up. You guys are going to consolidate these two complaints against the president, right? But last week kasi, nung lumabas yung decision ng Supreme Court na final, nagkaroon din ng issues kung gray area ba yung pagko-consolidate? Pwede ba talaga nating i-consolidate? Do you expect any counter arguments to that if you indeed proceed to consolidate these two complaints?
Okay. Let me share the authority why consolidation is allowed in the Justice Committee, no? This has been ruled upon in the Mercedes Gutierrez case, no? And also, the same was pronounced by the Honorable Supreme Court in the recent resolution, no? But as to how you consolidate, really, wala pa tayong president eh. As a matter of fact, yung Mercedes Gutierrez case, even before consolidation, nag-resign na siya. But nevertheless, this is how we interpret it in the Justice Committee. By consolidation, it means that we are taking up 2 or more impeachment complaints in one proceeding only. Okay. So we are doing that right now. So for us, we interpret it as consolidated 2 impeachment complaints because there is only one impeachment proceeding, no? But as to the physical consolidation of the causes of action, the offenses alleged, and the grounds of impeachment, this will happen only at the 5th or last step of the entire proceeding before the Justice Committee. And that is when we determine the existence of probable cause, where we are supposed to prepare already the articles of impeachment if indeed there is a probable cause that supports the impeachment complaint.
Ma'am, sa segue lang ako dun sa impeachment complaint against VP Sara. I know, wala pa ho sa inyo sa Justice Committee. Kakafile lang naman kanina yung dalawa. But I was wondering lang kasi, given the Supreme Court decision that was affirmed last week, does that mean na beginning today na ang day 1 of 10 for Congress to calendar an impeachment complaint against the VP in the order of business? So this is day 1 of 10 na po?
Well, I wish to believe na that 10-day is applicable to Speaker's office to plenary, right? No? And then from plenary to the Justice Committee, that is 3 session days. However, nandudun pa siya sa office ni SecGen,
Yes, ma'am.
who is mandated by the Constitution and the rules to take action immediately.
Yes, ma'am.
So, ang implication lang nito, the resolution of the Supreme Court, pag pinalampas mo yung 10 session days na yan, pag pinalampas mo yung 3 session days na yan, and even if you fail to transmit to the Speaker immediately, mag-ooperate yung sinasabi ng Supreme Court na deemed
Dismiss.
initiated.
Parang dinismiss na siya. I asked that po kasi nga if I read it correctly, parang sasabi ng Supreme Court na walang prerogative ang SecGen o yung Speaker to defer action on these cases. They have to immediately act on them, whether it's the 10 days to calendar or the 3 days to refer.
I agree to that, Ed. So, what really triggers the deemed initiation operation, no, is the inaction. Kapag walang ginawa ang House of Representatives at naglapse ang 10 session days as well as the 3 session days. It is considered as deemed initiated because of the House of Representatives inaction or failure to act on the impeachment complaint.
But we're not expecting any of that to happen this time around, no, Congresswoman? So I guess by tomorrow, possibly, nasa office na ni Speaker from the office of the SecGen?
I'm sorry, I cannot speak for the Secretary General, neither for the Speaker and the plenary, no? I can speak only for the Justice Committee.
Fair enough.
Okay. Ma'am, okay, Justice Committee po tayo. Like we were saying nga kanina, in all likelihood, by within this month, you'll probably have 2 impeachment complaints running through your committee. How are you going to handle that?
Of course, it is challenging because I think this is unprecedented, no?
Certainly.
First time in our history that the President and the Vice President are facing impeachment complaints. But again, as I have said before, this is a constitutional mandate. We have no choice but to discharge our function as member of the Justice Committee. So what I plan to do, this will be done by way of parallel action, no? Sabay natin yang didinggin, and ahead of time, we will be predetermining already the schedule of hearing dedicated for the impeachment process against the President, as well as the schedule of hearing dedicated for the impeachment process against the Vice President.
Actually, Congresswoman, no, sabi ni Ed, 2 impeachment complaint, but actually it sounds more like 4 to 6 kasi 2 yung sa presidente. So far, 2 yung sa vice-presidente, but as rumors have it,
We don't even know yet kung may dadagdag pa.
may madadagdag pa. O paano yun, if that's the case, and for sure may mag-endorse naman na isa sa iyong colleagues, so far there's 2. If there really are 2 more, are you gonna wait for it? Or yun nga, sabi mo naman yung consolidation happens and step 5 to 6 pa. So is it all like okay lang?
Well, wala kaming choice eh. This is not a question of whether we like it or not, di ba? This is a question of constitutional duty. So kung ilan yung dumating talaga, ma-refer sa Justice Committee, we're bound to discharge our function as members of the Justice Committee. If it is 4, then we will be hearing all 4 under the same impeachment proceeding.
Ma'am, there was one more thing dun sa due process argument ng Korte Suprema that nire-require ng Korte Suprema na there's sufficient evidence to prove the case against the accused. How exactly is that going to be determined? I mean, I'm not talking about yung hearing dun sa Justice Committee, pero at the very least yung sufficient evidence already submitted for the perusal of the legislators.
For the substance part.
Yeah, that is correct, Ed, no? As a matter of fact, both the decision of July 2025 and the resolution of January 28, 2026 speaks about the sufficient evidence which must be attached to the impeachment complaint, and which physical copy must be provided to the individual members of the House of Representatives. Of course, this is, for us, is something new with respect, if we will compare it to the prior impeachment process, no? Prior to the decision of the Supreme Court, the July 25, 2025. But nevertheless, we are talking about due process here, and we totally agree with the Supreme Court in as far as that is concerned.
Okay. Safe answer, ma'am. Maraming salamat for joining us tonight. House Committee on Justice Chairperson, Congresswoman Gerville Luistro. Thank you po.